You know what really gets me excited to make a theory-based video on One Piece? You guessed it, criminals. And as an Australian, who better to talk about criminals than myself, who has been raised in a country built on criminals. So, it is my honor and my privilege to talk to you today about none other than the biggest criminal in One Piece history, who was revealed to be Joyboy with the help of Zunesha, the elephant, the biggest criminals in One Piece. As always, guys, be sure to go and like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and we're getting ever so closer to 500 subscribers on the channel. And in case you guys missed out on my latest video, be sure to check out the Best Girl Rumble. It was the best time I've ever had recording a video. It was with King Recon and Laffy Traffy. Check it out, it's a load of fun. I absolutely love that Zunesha was Joyboy's companion. Whether that means he was a part of his crew, it was his personal pet, and now with more info being revealed in regards to Joyboy, Zunesha, and more stuff in the Void Century, I do expect in the next few chapters to get a full-fledged flashback, or at least an explanation in regards to their relationship and some more details getting into the Void Century, because now more is being revealed. Like, we're getting into the endgame stuff, so we're going to find out everything very shortly. But we are not patient people. We go online to look for answers with theory-based videos on what it could be. And I will say flat out that Oda has clearly stated that this series is not some work of Shakespeare. It's not some deep Inception level shit. It is a young adult children's story. It's not meant to be super deep, but it's always fun to speculate and figure out what exactly could be hidden in the panels of the One Piece manga. And I don't honestly blame anybody looking too deep, because Oda has a knack of putting in details absolutely everywhere. So, with that being said, I'm here to join in on the fun and see if we can find anything in regards to Joyboy and Zunesha's relationship. What could there be in terms of their crime? What could their disgusting act on Wano Kingdom be? And why exactly Zunesha is wandering aimlessly for all of these years. So I've been looking around online in regards to this relationship between Zunesha and Joyboy, and I've been so fascinated at some of the takes people have made in putting these pieces together as an answer to their relationship. A month ago on the One Piece subreddit, there was a post someone made in regards to Zunesha's crime. What if Zunesha's crime was killing Joyboy? And what if Onigashima's skull is Joyboy's? It's been heavily hinted that Joyboy was some kind of giant. So, maybe Zunesha killed Joyboy with that enormous sword you can see in Onigashima. And as punishment, he had to walk the earth until he found the next Joyboy. Now, the skull on Onigashima is absolutely massive, and it doesn't really line up with the straw hat that we see with Im, which I most definitely see that being the straw hat of Joyboy's. So I personally think that this isn't true at all. I really appreciate the thought about the twist of Zunesha killing Joyboy. So it's no surprise that Joyboy is such an instrumental, influential person in all these different races and countries in One Piece. So for someone to kill him, that would be a tremendous crime, because, you know, it's like someone going out and killing a very popular, influential figure right now in current day. Like, that person would be disgraced, they would be hated. So in this case, if someone was to go and kill Joyboy, then they would be punished. There would be irreparable damage. It would be a massive crime. So for Zunesha to be punished in the way that Zunesha has for killing Joyboy, that's very fascinating. But I don't necessarily see that being the case, especially it lining up with Joyboy's hat being in Onigashima. I think that's just too big for the skull in comparison to Im's straw hat that we've seen previously. I do think that Zunesha wielding that massive katana is true though. Just gonna call it. Zunesha's crime was that he tried to destroy the world. Okay, so I think that this is personally the case. I think that Joyboy wanted to start the rumbling, and so he went and connected with Zunesha, who was of the royal blood, and activated the rumbling. So I'm reading the following hypothesis from the One Piece fan page. Zunesha was given an important task by none other than Joyboy. However, he failed and was banished from his homeland and was to only act on orders given by specific people and was to carry and protect the Ming tribe for several hundreds of generations. They go on to connect the dots in regards to the promise that was made on Fishman Island by Joyboy and how they have kept the Noah for all of these generations in the hopes that this passage would be fulfilled. Now, I don't truly expect there to be some crazy, elaborate different story when all these different things happening with Joyboy and all of the different tribes and everything like that. I think it is a very straightforward task that he was given. It's a very straightforward story for Joyboy. So I do think that there is a really, really high possibility that this passage in regards to Fishman Island with the Noah does tie in with Joyboy in this crime with Wano. The man known as Joyboy lived in the surface world during the blank century, 800 years ago at least. Then, that passage was addressed to a mermaid princess who lived on this island at the time. It is said to be an apology for breaking a promise that Joyboy made with Fishman Island. The details of the promise are not clear, but it is said that one day an individual will appear to fulfill the promise in Joyboy's place. This is a legend passed down along the royal line. Trusting in that legend, I and my predecessors have protected the Noah for generations. That is our side of the promise. It is said that once the promised day arrives, the great ship Noah will finally fulfill its purpose. So we know that there was an ultimate goal of having all the fishmen be raised to the surface and to be assimilated into the world, because the fishmen are naturally being discriminated against and they just want to be a part of the entire world. So I do believe that Joyboy's purpose was to go and bring the fishmen up to the surface. I believe a lot of people think the same way, and that the Noah was a part of that plan. So the big question here is, how exactly does this promise made from Joyboy to Fishman Island and the Mermaid Princess tie in with the crime that Zunesha and Joyboy made against Wano? So the theory goes on to talk about how Wano and the Ancient Kingdom were technologically advanced for their time, which is true. The theory goes on as follows. As we all know, both the Ancient Kingdom and Wano were technologically advanced in the past. The Ancient Kingdom for the weapons, Wano for the poneglyphs. Pluton is an enormous battleship built by those in the Ancient Kingdom, so we do know they were capable of building large ships. We also know that Wano had some close connection to the Ancient Kingdom. They were most likely allies. Seeing that Wano helped with passing down information with the poneglyphs, they may have also helped build the Noah. The Ancient Kingdom and Wano were planning to bring the fishmen to the surface to help them with the war against the 20 kingdoms. The Minks were already allied with the Ancient Kingdom and Wano at this point. Once the fishmen were brought to the surface safely, they would form a powerful combined army to fight against the 20 kingdoms. This was, however, a very precarious plan. The 20 kingdoms would be ready to sabotage their plan if it wasn't executed properly. So now we're getting into the crux of what they believe to be the reason why Zunesha was banished and a crime was committed. And that was that Zunesha was tasked with delivering the Noah with all of the fishmen to the surface and bringing it back to Wano Kingdom. So, in this series they go on as follows. Zunesha, the enormous elephant, was either from Wano or the Ancient Kingdom originally. He was already a well-established servant of his kingdom. Again, it could be either the Ancient Kingdom or Wano. Joyboy had a very close relationship with Zunesha and viewed it as one of the most stalwart servants. So when Noah was finally built, he entrusted Zunesha to take it from where it was built to Fishman Island, where Poseidon would use her powers to order the Sea Kings to receive Noah and bring it down so that the fishmen could board it. He was supposed to wait for a few days, and when all the fishmen had boarded the ship and bring Noah to a certain location, all of this was to be completed in a time frame. Failing to do so meant the entire plan had to be forfeited, as their enemies would have advanced so far. So, from what I understand in regards to this theory, and I'll be tweaking it of course because I have my own thoughts, is that Zunesha and Joyboy had a relationship, and of course it's been stated by Momo that it was his companion. So I definitely do see that in the past, Joyboy, having the voice of all things, was able to communicate with Zunesha, and they had an immediate bond and they really cared about each other. And so then, as he was progressing in his life and as his motivations were starting to grow, and he wanted to go and make all of this different change, ending this discrimination against the fishmen, wanting to bring all races together, I definitely see that communicating with Zunesha, he understood that Zunesha was pivotal to execute this plan. And Zunesha had the power in which to go and do so. A scenario could be that the Noah was built in Wano Kingdom, and the purpose for that Noah ship could potentially have been for the war that was taking place with the 20 kingdoms, and it was very instrumental in helping them out in the war. And you could go and see that Joyboy did not want to have any sort of part of this war. His motivations was to bring people together. He wanted to not cause any sort of war. He wanted to cause freedom, much like how Luffy wants to create freedom right now. And so Joyboy's idea of freedom is bringing all of these races together. And most certainly the fishmen are up there as like the number one to go and do so, because they have been so discriminated against. They have been isolated, they have been put down in the sea, and they want to be a part of society. So Joyboy wants to make that happen. So with this Noah being built in Wano, and with Zunesha having the power to take the Noah to the Fishman Island to help with the fishmen, Joyboy ordered Zunesha to take the Noah to Fishman Island, and then, like this theory states, have all the fishmen go onto the Noah to then bring them up to the surface. And during that period of time, maybe Wano Kingdom, maybe some other kingdoms had caught up with Zunesha and had intercepted Zunesha's plan. It caused the Noah to be rested on the very base of Fishman Island, where the plan could not be fulfilled. And Joyboy had broken his promise to go and let the fishmen go up to the surface, and he had entrusted that the next Joyboy, who could in fact communicate with Zunesha to fulfill this plan, would come in the future. Now we have Luffy, who looks to be the next successor to Joyboy, who was able to hear the voice of all things, who is now in Wano Kingdom with Momo, who looks to be able to communicate with Zunesha. So now that we have the pieces together of a way to communicate with Zunesha and the person who was carrying on Joyboy's will, we can most definitely go and see Luffy in the position to be able to fulfill Joyboy's promise, which looks to be the catalyst of what's going to tear down Fishman Island. And we know that the prediction was made in Fishman Island that Luffy would cause the destruction of Fishman Island. I can definitely go and see that Zunesha completing the plan to free the fishmen from Fishman Island to the surface from Luffy is what's going to go and cause their destruction, whether it's from an outside force, like the Gorosei, Blackbeard, whoever you want to put in there. I do definitely go and see that Luffy fulfilling Joyboy's plan is what's going to ultimately lead to the destruction of Fishman Island. So the prophecy would be fulfilled of Luffy destroying Fishman Island, but it would also be fulfilling the promise that Joyboy made to the fishermen people, because then they'll go onto the Noah to bring them up to the surface via Zunesha. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section in regards to Joyboy and Zunesha's relationship. I absolutely love this development, and I love all the different takes people are making, so I'd love to go and see your thoughts in regards to this whole development. Once again, guys, like the video and subscribe in case you haven't already. It really helps me out, and it keeps you up to date for all the latest One Piece theories and discussions. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next one.